Meanwhile, bombshell moments from Lindsay's former prescriber when things get tense on cross-exam.
I know it doesn't say not, but that is exactly what I meant.
Wait, when did you see this that you noticed that it did not say not?
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant.
She strangled her 3 children with exercise bands. That much isn't disputed. Her own lawyers admitted in open court. But the question that's tearing this trial apart isn't whether Lindsay Clancy killed her kids. It's whether the woman responsible for her mental health ever actually looked her in the eye before it happened. The answer, according to sworn testimony, is no. Not once. Not in 14 appointments.
Including, but not limited to, the fact that the very first time that Lindsay's psychiatrist, who prescribed her all of these medications, saw her in person was on Friday in court. That is right. All of their appointments, 14 appointments, were done in telehealth.
Let's back up. Lindsay Clancy was a labor and delivery nurse from Duxbury, Massachusetts. A mother of 3, 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, 8-month-old Callan. By every account from people who knew her, she was devoted. Anxious about being a good mom, maybe overly so, but devoted. In January 2023, while her husband Patrick stepped out to run errands, she strangled all 3 children and then tried to take her own life. She survived. She's now paralyzed from the waist down, and she's facing 3 counts of first-degree murder. Her defense isn't that she didn't do it. It's that she wasn't in her right mind when she did. Postpartum psychosis, they argue, triggered by a stack of 13 different psychiatric medications prescribed to her in the months before the killings.
Until you came in this courtroom Friday, you never saw this woman in person, did you?
Correct.
And did you give her a hug? Oh no, you're on telemedicine, so you couldn't give her a hug, could you?
On top
And at the center of that medication list is one name. Dr. Jennifer Tufts, the psychiatrist who wrote most of those prescriptions. Here's where it gets disturbing. Dr. Tufts treated Lindsay for months. 14 separate appointments between September and January. She diagnosed her, adjusted her medications, tracked her decline in clinical notes, and she did every single one of those sessions over video call. She had never seen Lindsay Clancy in person.
Lindsay's defense says she killed the children, yes, but she can't be found guilty of murder, for at the time of their deaths, she was not of sound mind. Specifically, she was suffering from postpartum psychosis. The defense points to what they call a cocktail of medications Lindsay was prescribed, 13 in all.
Not once. Not until Lindsay was sitting in a courtroom on trial for killing her children. That's not a rumor. That's not a defense talking point. That's Dr. Tufts, under oath, confirming it herself when the defense asked her directly. So the defense built their cross-examination around a simple, damning question. How do you treat someone for a rare and dangerous psychiatric condition without ever being in the same room as them? And each time Dr. Tufts tried to explain it away, the explanation collapsed under the next question. Claim 1: the telehealth was sufficient because she could still observe Lindsay's mood and behavior through video. The defense pointed out she couldn't examine her physically, couldn't pick up on anything a screen might miss, and admitted flatly she'd never even shaken the woman's hand.
So you were practicing as a psychiatrist for a little more than a month.
I was practicing independently with my full credentials for about a month, but the training is just immense that goes on before that.
Now, in August of 22, up until when you saw Lindsay, how many patients in that month or so had you treated for postpartum psychosis?
How many patients in a month? Up until that
Yeah,
month?
I'm asking you about when you started working in August of 22 for Astor, and you are now on your own as an employee. How many patients had you treated before you saw Lindsay Clancy for postpartum psychosis?
Claim 2: she was an experienced professional, qualified to treat a complex case like Lindsay's. Then it came out she'd received her board certification barely a month before Lindsay became her patient.
And did you give her a hug? Oh no, you're on telemedicine, so you couldn't give her a hug, could you? You didn't have any chance to even look at her in person, did you?
I could look at her. It was always a video appointment. I couldn't give her a hug, but
When asked how many postpartum psychosis cases she'd handled before that, her answer was blunt. 0. It's rare, she said, but it exists. And people with it hear voices. She confirmed that herself on the stand. Claim 3: her clinical notes accurately reflected Lindsay's condition throughout treatment. This is where the cross-examination turned into one of the most talked-about moments of the entire trial. The defense read her own note back to her, word for word, describing Lindsay as having, not hyper, pressured speech. Dr. Tufts insisted that wasn't what she meant. When pressed on when exactly she noticed the word, not, was even in her own note, she snapped back that she didn't care what it said. She knew what she meant. A doctor, arguing with her own written record, in front of a jury.
Yes.
And why would you prescribe Zoloft to a young woman who's postpartum, who's coming to you with anxiety, who's telling you she can't sleep, she's got all of these symptoms, and you prescribe a medication that would have a side effect of trouble sleeping?
Claim 4, maybe the most consequential one, that prescribing Zoloft to Lindsay was standard, defensible practice.
Worrying about kids, baby, sleep, yawns but not drowsy, not hyper, pressured speech.
What was that? Not hyper what?
Not hyper, not pressured speech is what I meant. I know it doesn't say not, but that is exactly what I meant.
Wait, when did you see this that you noticed that it did not say not?
I don't care what it says. I know what I meant.
The defense reminded her Zoloft carries an FDA black box warning for suicidal and homicidal ideation, and that one of its documented side effects is severe trouble sleeping, exactly what Lindsay was already struggling with when she came in.
Can you just listen to my question and answer it yes or no? Is there a black box warning on Zoloft?
Yes.
Okay. And a black box warning is required or prescribed by what, the FDA?
Probably.
Probably.
Dr. Tufts didn't have a clean answer. She fell back on saying it's the general consensus first-line medication. Consensus doesn't explain away a black box warning on a sleep-deprived, anxious new mother. By the time the cross-examination wrapped, something else came out that made the whole picture even harder to look away from. Dr. Tufts is named as a defendant in a separate 784-page civil lawsuit accusing her and several other providers of medical malpractice in Lindsay's case.
For the Commonwealth this week.
You're a defendant in a very large lawsuit, are you not?
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to be represented by an attorney, would you?
I am.
Meaning the outcome of this criminal trial could directly affect her own legal exposure. When asked if she understood that, she claimed she didn't. When asked if prescribing herself as an expert in postpartum psychiatry after a month of independent practice could be considered misrepresentation, she said she didn't believe she'd been negligent.
Would you consider that to be negligent or misrepresentation?
I do not believe that I have been negligent.
Dr. Tufts was called.
Now here's the part that should stop you. This wasn't a one-off gap in care. Multiple providers treated Lindsay in the months leading up to the killings. A nurse practitioner who asked the right screening questions, but moved out of state.
If things were spicy for Dr. Tufts, that was not at all the case with nurse practitioner Julie Paul, who Lindsay was recommended to by her mother-in-law, Susan Clancy.
Yes, I asked her specifically if she felt like she wanted to harm herself or her children, and she said no.
Another provider who raised the possibility of bipolar disorder, only for it to be dismissed. A crisis hotline that turned Lindsay away because she didn't have a specific suicide plan, despite her saying she wanted to die.
Not at that time.
And when you explain this to them, your thoughts about her reactions to the medication and these reported prior symptoms, did Patrick and Lindsay seem receptive to your diagnosis?
I recall Patrick saying my wife is not bipolar. Lindsay looked at me. She did not say anything.